What are the key opportunities and challenges for Sri Lanka to leverage its blue economy to contribute to food security, economic growth, and employment generation?
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Good day to everyone. So the Vogue magazine in January said Sri Lanka's south coast is this winter's hottest destination. So I'll start from there because, our unique strategic position, right, offers multiple opportunities for us. Economics, like you said, right? So I start with the coastal tourism. It's a huge driver. You see, places like Arugambe, Ahangama, people come to kite surf, to watch whales, or you go to Mirissa or Kalpitia, hundreds of pods of dolphins. This is an amazing place, right? And we have so much of coastal tourism activity. And what that means is hotels, restaurants, villas, bars, you name it, right? And so this is an entire ecosystem that, that depends on coastal tourism. So that's one. And then other is obviously fishing. Millions of people's livelihoods are dependent upon fishing. And then, of course, the deep water ports that we have. I'm sure you perhaps spoke about all this, and I don't want to get into great detail. But, being 50 nautical miles away from one of the busiest sea routes, and I met, as I was walking in here, people who run these ports and terminals who know much more than I do. It offers us huge potential if we utilize them properly in port operations and maritime services and all of that. And I'm told like 60,000 ships pass by the island. So just imagine, what potential that exists. So then the question, the second part of your question is challenges, right? Now, we had a massive oil spill. Actually, a ship caught fire called Express Pearl. And fishermen's livelihoods lost. Marine ecosystem was, shot. And I don't think justice was done. We originally said it cost something like $40 million or something to clean it up. We got $8 million, if I'm not mistaken. That was not enough to scratch the surface. And, experts said the loss was something like $6.4 billion, right? So when oil spills, hazardous waste gets, released, that not only destroys the environment, the fish and all of that, but destroys the livelihoods of fishermen and others. So what kind of legal and regulatory frameworks do we have, and how successful have we been in sort of addressing these issues along those lines? So that's one. Then we have on fishing itself and other marine resources, infrastructure gaps. We don't have the right kind of technology. We don't have these multi-day fishing trawlers. We don't have cold storage. We don't have electronic, fish location devices. IUU is an issue. All those things. And another challenge is how we sort of make sure that our policies are consistent with leveraging what I started out by saying is a unique sort of geostrategic location, right? So then you have to start thinking beyond the shores of Sri Lanka, beyond the 200 miles of IE, right? So that's where I think Sri Lanka needs to start thinking big. right? We need to punch way above our weight class. Yes, we are a small island, but then our influence in this region and beyond can be a hell of a lot more than what it is now. And I see distinguished people here, former commanders of the Sri Lanka Navy, people who run ports, people who run major operations that are related to maritime services. So, as a nation, we have this potential, we have the opportunities, and we have the challenges. Then is how to have a policy to leverage on this. So, I'll stop at that.
Thank you very much, Harsha. You've raised a lot of similarities between other seeds as well, especially in relation to your references to tourism and fishing, but also the oil spill that was experienced in Mauritius. So I will now move to the Mauritian context. Harsha, I will come to you to wrap up on the Sri Lankan context for us. Sri Lanka has come a long way from the economic crisis, from COVID, and I believe engagement and collaboration has played a great role. So in your view, given the global nature of ocean resources, what lessons can Sri Lanka still learn from its international collaborations in the blue economy development?
Thanks. Let me sort of pick up from where I left off and what the other panelists also said. It's about international collaborations in protecting maritime resources on the one hand and livelihoods on the other. And I want to talk about legal responsibilities. And, you brought up a very interesting point of whether they are binding collaborations, and how are you going to enforce these things? Now, I'm going to take two examples. I was in government 2015 to 19 when we had to face a huge problem because the European Union had banned fisheries exports from Sri Lanka, at least $250 million revenue at the time. Why? Because of IUU regulation violations. These vessels didn't have monitoring systems or whatever. And we had been warned multiple times, but the government at the time had basically neglected to fix it. And it was a challenge, but we were able to, fix it in 2016 and to remove the ban on fisheries exports to the EU under GSP+. So there was a binding agreement that you don't do this, and then this is what happens. Now, another story is bottom trawling that we have been discussing with the government of India for a long period of time, which we have not seen any resolution. It's been discussed at every meeting, and that's a big issue, economics issue. But there is no agreement. Nobody's really bound by any regulation or any legal agreement, and this continues to go on, right? So how do you sort of internationally collaborate, and in this case between Sri Lanka and India? Then the other issue is international collaborations on piracy and hijacking. I was once again involved in what was written about called WhatsApp diplomacy. At the time I was in the foreign ministry, interestingly, when I wrote it down, a ship, oil tanker by the name of Aries was hijacked by pirates from Puntland. And we didn't even know there was a country called Puntland. It was a sub-autonomous territory, semi-autonomous territory of Somalia. And, the Minister of Foreign Affairs was not available. I was acting, and we had a huge issue. And these pirates had sort of surrounded this ship, and they were shooting at it and so on. So we internationally collaborated. The United States State Department intervened in that case and got us in contact with the chief of staff of the Puntland president. And we were able to resolve the matter without getting any of our crew killed. But then, you got to look at it more broadly, for strategic security partnerships, particularly in the Indian Ocean, where there are but less less binding agreements among the nations, literal and otherwise, right? So freedom of navigation in the Indian Ocean, what kind of rules, right, are we are we following? So those are the things. And anti-smuggling, I think I'm running out of time, I think, right? So there are many more that I want to talk about, but one I have to touch upon is renewable energy, offshore wind resources. How do we collaborate with nations, particularly in this region, to leverage what is available? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Harsha. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the end of the session. May I have a round of applause for my panelists, all of whom are punching well beyond their weight, well above their weight. Thank you.